Hi, chat. Did you know that the LGBT community has the highest rate of domestic violence? Did you also know that gay people have a higher percentage of being pedophiles than heterosexual people? Well, if you didn't, I'm glad I could teach you something today. Anyway, I was bored today, sitting around and thinking, what could I do? I ultimately decided on going for a nice, peaceful drive through the neighborhood and thinking about a prior event that happened to me just recently. Something that was a quite negative event and impacted my life in a pretty negative way. And I think if I was somebody else or was in a different situation or maybe even in a different place or in a different time, I would have been saved from this matter and it wouldn't have gone as drastically bad as it did. So, anyway, let's dive into it. This all takes place at the end of last year, December 2025. This was around Christmas time, everybody's favorite time of year. The lights were out, Santa Claus was out. I believe it was December 23rd, and I had an interview at a senior home to be a dining room coordinator. This is the first time I was ever going to work at a senior home, but I ended up getting the job that day. So it was official. I was going to be a dining room coordinator at a senior living. So I started about a week later after all of my training, or I think it was about 2 weeks later I started, and it was about the second week of January. So I'm going about my duties as one does as a dining room coordinator, still getting the hang of my job, still getting the hang of my servers, trying to get to know all the residents, which is a huge deal working at a senior living home, is knowing all the residents. But this one resident in particular has grown a liking to me already. And I notice that he keeps coming up to me every one of my shifts, and he spends a good amount of time talking to me. He likes asking me questions. He seems very interested in my life and my hobbies. And at first, I like this a lot because, I don't really know anybody there. I don't have any friends there. I'm new at the job. So it's kind of nice to have one of the residents come there and make you feel welcome, like bring you in. And it makes you feel like you're kind of part of the place. So at first, it was nice. And this guy's name was James. Now, as time went on, James became a little bit more needy, and he would ask me to come to his table constantly just for like little things. So, even if I wasn't his server, which I rarely was, he would make sure that I would come to his table to talk to him every single meal, no matter what. And then that evolved into him wanting to see me after work. So he started asking me, "Hey, do you like the Dodgers? You're a Dodgers fan. Let's go see a Dodger game after work one time, or let's go to the beach on one of your days off." And this is also the time he revealed to me that he was a gay man, and which I was like, whatever, dude, like you're gay. I'm not gay. He knew that at the time. I told him plenty of times that I had ex girlfriends that didn't work out, and he knew that I definitely did not swing that way. But I was like, whatever, you're gay. And the way he went about telling me too was also like a very he kind of led me in the direction of asking him if he was straight or gay, like, he really wanted to divulge the information to me and let me know that he was gay, but I was like, "Okay," and then after that he let me know that he was gay, he really started pushing hanging out with me outside of work, and so I continued to push this off. Obviously, now this deterred me more from wanting to hang out with this guy after work. I didn't really want a relationship with an 85-year-old man regardless of their sexuality. But now I really don't wanna give this guy the wrong idea. I have no intentions of hanging out with him outside of work. So I keep giving him the curb. I keep giving him excuses of why I can't hang out with him. I tell him it's a professional relationship. You're a resident here. I work here. I just got hired as a boss here. So at this point, I make a complaint to HR. I say that this guy is bothering me because at this point, too, he has been starting to say sexual things to me. He said, I can take you into the bed and make you feel better than any woman has ever made you feel, and you have no idea how good I can make you feel. So it was getting to the point where it was past appropriate, and I thought it was appropriate to make a report to HR. So that's what I did. I went to my HR lady, I made a report, and their solution was, after bringing in the regional HR and having an entire meeting, was to keep this resident away from me, to keep James away from me. Now, I'm a dining room coordinator, so I spend all of my time in the dining room, a very public space in a retirement home. And they put no precautions and no boundaries in place to keep James away from you whatsoever. So this essentially did nothing. My first HR claim, I had it written down on paper. He was supposed to stay away from me. This did nothing at all. I don't even think they talked to him about it because the next day he was right back on top of me, asking me the same questions, asking me out, the same crap. Now, about a week or 2 goes by of him doing the same stuff. I can tell he's becoming more and more upset with me because I keep blowing him off. I keep not giving him my phone number. I keep, avoiding him, and eventually you can kinda tell that. And that's when he does something that really crosses the line and when you know people are kinda, like, not right in the head. But this guy actually paid a private investigator to find out everything he could about me. So this guy found everything about me from my phone numbers to all of my addresses, my past addresses, all of my relatives, like their information, their addresses. It was literally insane. And then the guy comes up and tells me that he did this and tells me that he has my address and my phone number and all this shit. I literally was so shocked in the time that I froze up. I immediately walked upstairs and made a report to the HR lady. They said, "Okay, we're gonna make a report. We're gonna make sure nothing happens, blah, blah, blah." Same thing as the time before. They don't do anything. At this point, I'm actively avoiding this guy because I'm like, this dude is psycho. And I ask, am I allowed to be rude to this guy at this point? And they say, no, you still have to be professional. Like, you still have to be professional to this guy. He's still a resident. He still lives here. You can't just be a total dick to this guy, even though he went way overboard and looked into your information, which is completely crazy. They were telling me I still have to be professional with him and be courteous because that's my job, especially as a team leader and as a dining room coordinator, that's what I had to do. So I was literally at this point just trying to avoid him as much as possible. All the meanwhile, he is blowing up my phone with different phone numbers, texting me, telling me how much he loves me, doing insane things. One of the final straws was I was walking through the dining room on one of the last nights I worked there, and he was behind me, and I didn't know he was behind me, and he whispered in my ear and grabbed me by, like, the butt and groin area, and I literally jumped like a cartoon, when they, like, jump out of your shoes? Like, "What the fuck, dude?" Like, ran back to the kitchen, and then the day after that, he shows up to my grandparents' house, knocking on the door, looking for me. And this was like the final straw to me. I'm very protective over my grandparents. They're like my parents to me. And at this point, I don't know what this guy is capable of. Yeah, he's a crazy 85-year-old gay dude, but you really don't know. And these people that do these kind of things, like search people up online and are willing to go that far and stalk people that much, those are the kind of people that will, like, break in your back door and strangle you or do some weird shit. So at that point, I pretty much walked out of my work. I was like, "I'm taking a leave. I don't feel comfortable being here with this guy being here. He's a total psycho. He's stalking me, not only me, but he's also stalking my family." So I told them that. At first, they understood. They're like, "Okay." After about a week and a half, they wanted me to come back to work even though the resident is still there. They're trying to get him evicted still, but he's still there. I told him, "No, I'm not willing to go back there even if I don't have to interact with him. He knows what my car looks like. I just don't wanna be back there. I don't wanna be near this guy at all." Their only other option for me was to drive to a place called Encino, which is about an hour away, and I didn't wanna do that either. So essentially, they told me your only other course of option is to basically resign. And so that's what I did. I wasn't going to hold up this process forever. I wasn't going to go back there. I kind of felt like that wasn't right of them to they didn't really take his back, but I don't think they did everything they could to really have my back. And in a situation like that, I just don't think it was right. I think if I was a woman and the tables were turned, I think things would be very differently, and the company would have treated the situation very differently. I just think this day and age, being a white man, I guess being assaulted by an elderly gay man doesn't get you much. But just a little story I'd like to share with you guys on this Sunday afternoon. Hope everything's going all right. send me a subscribe, and then I'll talk to you guys later, alright?
Hello, hello. Hola. Oh, dear.